Ladies and gentlemen, hello, this is Devo over at Land Say Go, and we're going to be doing our next EDH deck tech today, which is Nicol Bolas, the Ravager. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than we normally have done it, where we have done animated graphics, things like that. I've just been really swamped at work, and so I'm going to be doing a quick and dirty one here for you, because I know you guys want to see this deck, and I want to show it to you, because it's really, really cool. So if you guys want to help craft the content of this channel, be sure to join us over in our community section to help put your voice into the community polls there. It'll help craft the content here, and I can get the stuff that you guys want to see. Now, other than that, if you guys want to buy this deck, we do have a TCG affiliate link listed in the description down below. So feel free to go ahead and click that link and buy the cards and try it out for yourself and see how you like it. All right, Nicol Bolas, the Ravager. Here we go. All right, so here is the deck list, and I'll be going through it here just to kind of show you what the deck is all about and how it works and how it functions, and some cool things that are about it. So obviously we have Nicol Bolas Dragon, the Elder Dragon here, the Ravager. Now, he is a 1 in Grixis, so 1 blue, black, red for a 4/4 Elder Dragon. He's got flying. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card, which is pretty nice. And you can pay 4 in Grixis to exile him and return him to the battlefield transformed as a Planeswalker, which is Nicol Bolas, the Arisen. Now here you can, he comes in with 7 loyalty. You can +2, draw 2 cards. You can -3 to have it deal 10 damage to target creature or Planeswalker. -4 to return a creature or Planeswalker from your graveyard to the battlefield under your control. And it's any graveyard. And you can also -12 and exile all but the bottom card of target player's library. So there is a win condition attached to it there. Now that's great. Nicol Bolas is pretty strong. If you can win a game with him, great. Go ahead and feel free to do it. But that's not the purpose of this deck. This deck is actually a combo deck. And the card that we are comboing with is right here. It's Dragon's Approach. So for 2 and a red, it's a sorcery. It says it deals 3 damage to each opponent. You may exile Dragon's Approach and 4 cards named Dragon's Approach from your graveyard. If you do, search your library for a dragon creature card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. A deck can have any number of cards named Dragon's Approach. So that's the big thing here. It can have any number of cards. So what does that mean for our deck? How many are we running? We are running 35. That's right, 35 Dragon's Approaches are in this deck. Now, what would I say, or what would you say if I told you that when you're playing this deck, you can actually win the game in a single turn? Not turn 1, but you can win the game where you deal 90+ damage to each of your opponents in a turn. Well, how would we do that? Well, one of the best ways to combo with this deck is actually a really cool artifact called Thrummingstone. It's 5 mana, it's a legendary artifact, and it says spells you control have Ripple 4. Now, for those of you who don't know, what Ripple does is whenever you cast a spell, you will look at however many numbers is on the Ripple. So here it's Ripple 4, so you look at 4 cards off the top of your library, and then you can cast any number of those cards that share the same name. Now, the thing with Thrummingstone, it says whenever you with spells you control have Ripple 4. So you're casting the spells off the top of your library for free. You basically get to go through your whole deck if you have enough spells to cast them all. So if you cast a single Dragon's Approach, you exile the top 4, you look at it, or I think you reveal. Anyways, you reveal the top 4, and then if you see a Dragon's Approach in there, or 2 or 3 or 4, you can cast each of those, and then each of them will have Ripple 4, and you just keep going on and on and on. And so that is your main primary win condition here, is Thrummingstone with Dragon's Approach. However, there is another way for us to combo off in this deck if somebody happens to catch your your Thrummingstone or something like that. So how do we do that? Well, there's actually a couple of pieces to that. First, we need a way to reduce the mana cost of Dragon's Approach, because obviously it's 3 mana. We need to be able to reduce it down to 1 mana. So there's a couple ways we can do that. We have obviously like Ruby Medallion, Semblance Anvil. These are mana reducers. So red spells we cast cost 1 less to cast for the Medallion. For Semblance Anvil, you can imprint it, and when it enters the battlefield, and basically you are exiling a non-land card from your hand. And so if you exile a sorcery, those sorceries cost 2 less to cast. So Semblance Anvil is a really good, powerful piece in this deck. We also have a card that we don't normally get to play in Commander called Locket of Yesterdays. For 1 mana, spells you play cost 1 less to cast for each card with the same name as that spell in your graveyard. So we have 35 Dragon's Approaches, which means that they are obviously going to be 1 red mana, which is amazing. Now, how else do we then capitalize on that? Well, we also are running Burgi, God of Storytelling. Now, I love this card. This card's great, and it's another way for us to combo here. So the front side, 3 mana, 3/3. We actually have a deck tech about that, about a deck dedicated just to Burgi. But basically, whenever you cast a spell, you get a free red mana, and then until end of turn, you don't lose that mana as steps and phases end. And then it's got a boast thing, which you don't really care about. And then the backside of it, you do have this this Harnell, Horn of Bounty, which can be card advantage for you if you need it. You basically discard a card, which we have things we want to discard, which is the Dragon's Approaches, because we want them in our graveyard if we're not casting them. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So with Burgi on the battlefield, you're basically every time you cast a single mana for Dragon's Approach, you get a free red back, which means that you can cast another Dragon's Approach. But you're not drawing cards at this point. So what's the deal? How can we combo if we don't have any in your hand? Well, there's actually another favorite card of mine, which will help us combo here that you don't see in Commander, and that is Secret Salvage. 3 black for a sorcery. Exile target non-land card from your graveyard. Search your library for any number of cards with the same name as that card, reveal them, and put them into your hand. And then you shuffle. So yes, this awesome 20-cent rare, you basically will name a Dragon's Approach, you exile it from your graveyard, you then search your library for every copy of Dragon's Approach and put it into your hand. And then with a Burgi on the battlefield and a Semblance Anvil or a Locket of Yesterdays, you are just spinning the wheel, a single red, and you are just nuking your opponents in the same turn. So, and then if that is not enough to kill your opponents, we do also have a dragon package that you can then tutor up to also be dealing enough damage to kill your opponents that way. So let's go ahead and cover those dragons real quick. Obviously we have Nicol Bolas, which you can be running, but Dragon's Approach can't catch that. So what do we got? We have Bladewing the Resin, which is 3 black, red. It's a 4/4. And then when it enters the battlefield, you may return target dragon permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then it also has a pump ability on there as well. This will basically come down to get something that maybe has died previously and bring it back, since Dragon's Approach can only catch things from your library. So that's something there. We have Dragon Lord Culligan, 4 black red for a 6/5 flying haste. Other creatures you control have haste. This is really big. Whenever an opponent casts a creature or planeswalker spell with the same name as a card in his or her graveyard, the player loses 10 life. So we don't really care about that. It's the haste, and creatures have haste. All right, so that's the big thing there. We also have Hoarding Dragon, which is another way for us to find our Thrummingstone. 3 red, 4/4. It's got flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card, exile it, and then shuffle your library. And then when it dies, you may put the exiled card into its owner's hand. So it gives you a way to search up for your Thrummingstone and put it into your hand. And then you have another Culligan, the Storm's Fury. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. It's also got a dash. It's a 4/5 for 5 mana. So basically, all of our dragons, as they attack, they all get buffed because of each dragon that's seen attacking. We also have a Lathless in here as well. Lathless Dragon Queen, 4 red. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. And then it also has a pump ability that pumps your entire dragon field, which is amazing. We then also have Terror of Mount Velis. So 7 mana, 5 red for a 5/5 flying double strike. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn. And then lastly, we have Terror of the Peaks, 3 red, 5/4. Spells your opponents control that they cast that target the Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life to cast. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage to that creature's power to any target. So if by some miracle somebody doesn't die after 90 life, we can sequence our game in a way to where we can get down Terror of the Peaks, and then get down Alathlus. And then every single dragon that comes into play after that creates a 5/5 dragon. And now we're just shooting everybody down with 5/5 dragons, 4/5s, you know, things like that. And then Culligan comes down, giving everything haste. And then Terror of Mount Velas is the last one you get, giving everything double strike. And you just swing out and you can win the game that way. So if the combo doesn't work where you are casting all your dragon's approaches, if that doesn't work, you also have this supplementary dragon combo that can just win the game from combat damage or from non-combat damage because of the Terror of the Peaks and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do there as well. Now, how do we help facilitate this, right? That's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool things that we could do. How are we gonna do that? Well, let's look at some of our artifacts. We have Anvil of Bogarden. This card's actually really great in this deck. Players have no maximum hand size. It's 2 mana. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card, then discards a card. So we have things that we don't really mind going into the graveyard, you know, Dragon's Approach. It's another way for us to just kind of help fuel our card draw, making sure we're hitting the other pieces that we need. It does affect your opponents as well. So they have no maximum hand size and they also have to draw and discard as well. So that may be beneficial to some of your opponents, that may hurt some of your opponents. You know, you never know. You also have Arcane Signet, which is just a good ramp spell. 2 mana, taps for a color of your commander's identity. We have a Dimir Signet, an Izzet Signet, and then a Soul Ring as well. So obviously the Dimir taps for blue and black. After you pay a mana into it, the Izzet taps for a blue and red. And then we also have our another piece of card draw here with Patient Rebuilding. I actually really like this card a lot. 3 blue, blue. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent puts the top 3 cards of their library into the graveyard, and then you draw a card for each land. Excuse me. You draw a card for each land card that was put into your graveyard or into their graveyard this way. So if they have 3 lands that go to the battlefield, you draw 3 cards. If they have 2, you draw 2. If they have none, well then you at least disrupted their game plan a little bit. And you get to choose the opponent. So if you have a graveyard opponent, you just obviously don't choose them, you choose somebody else. But it's a way for you to be drawing a lot of cards on your upkeep there. And then lastly, we have another cool piece here that we don't see in Commander, Pyromancer Ascension. 1 in a red for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that has the same name as a card in your graveyard, you may put a quest counter on Pyromancer's Ascension. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell while Pyromancer has 2 or more quest counters on it, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this card used to be really big in Modern. It no longer is. It's pretty cheap now. So what's really great about this is we have 35 Dragon's Approaches. This is a way for us to get even more copies of it, and we're just dealing a whole bunch of damage to our opponents. Another great way to just deal a ton of damage over the course of the game. We also have, so that covers all of our artifacts and enchantments. We also have some instants and sorceries. We have a Crux of Fate. It's just a great board wipe for dragons, right? You can destroy all non-dragon creatures or all dragons. That's just a great thing. 3 black, black sorcery. We do have a Demonic Tutor. You got to make this a little bit consistent, and having some tutors like this can go a long way. So obviously you can find your Thrummingstone, you can find your Secret Salvage, you can find whatever you need for just 1 in a black. You then also have a Grim Tutor. Again, just another way to tutor things up. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle. You lose 3 life. You've got a Vampiric Tutor. Again, same thing. 1 mana, instant speed. You put it on top of your library, you lose 2 life. And then we also have a Whir of Invention, which is a great way to either get a cost reducer out or finding our Thrummingstone and get it out onto the battlefield that way as well. So lots of tutors in this deck to make sure that we can help facilitate the game plan. And either way, it's gonna be really smooth for you. So that's all of the instant sorceries and creatures that we have in the deck. Lastly, it's just the mana base, so we can go through that here real quick. Obviously, we have Academy Ruins to get back any artifacts that hit the graveyard that we want back. So you can pay 1 in a blue and tap it to put an artifact on top of your library. So it's a great way to do it on your opponent's end step. You can draw that card. So let's say somebody blows up our Thrummingstone. Before we get a chance to use it, we can at least get it back and try again. You have a bunch of fetch lands like Arid Mesa, basically every fetch land that you could run. You want to kind of thin the deck a little bit. We have a Canyon Slough for some cycling. We got Command Tower for the mana, the colors of mana. Crumbling Necropolis, again, for all the colors of mana. Darksteel Citadel. This is actually going to be going along with something I didn't cover here. We have a Goblin Electromancer. Instant and sorcery spells cost 1 less to cast, another cost reducer. And then we also had, it got kind of hidden in here. We do have another Goblin, I think it was Goblin Engineer. Here it is, Goblin Engineer. So for 1 in a red, we can basically tutor up an artifact card and put it into our graveyard. And then we can pay a red and tap it to sacrifice an artifact and return target artifact card with mana value 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. So obviously they can't get back to Thrummingstone, but if we already have an Academy of Ruins out, we could tutor the Thrummingstone into the graveyard, get it back with the Academy Ruins, or we could use the Goblin Engineer to get back, say, a Locket of Yesterdays or a Semblance Anvil or something like that in order to facilitate the alternate Storm win. So Goblin Engineer, great in this deck. We also have, with that, we're going to be running a lot of artifact lands because the artifact lands are going to be an artifact that we can sacrifice to the Goblin Engineer to swap the artifacts that are in our graveyard. So then we also have Dragon Skull Summit. We have, like I said, all the artifact lands, Drossforge Bridge, the Mist Vault Bridge, the wherever the other ones, the Silver Bluff Bridge, all of those, the Seed of Cyanod, all of the colored artifact lands are going to be in this one as well. We do also have the Vault of Whispers. There was the new treasure one. It's in here somewhere. All of those are going to be in this deck. So make sure that you get a copy of those in there because they're going to be really good for you. Obviously, every fetch land that you can run it. And then we also have things like the temples to help scry away some things that we don't necessarily need right now. And then if you can afford them, they're not too terribly expensive, but like luxury suites or training center, things like that. The lands that come into play untapped but aren't fetchable, those are ones that you can definitely want to consider running. For those of you who haven't seen these, they're pretty cool. So if you have 2 or more opponents that come into play untapped, which most of the time they will. So that's going to be really great for you. And then snarls, basic lands, things like that. We've got, we're running basically one of each basic land and then trying to do a multicolor of all of the other lands. So if you guys want to see this full deck list in its entirety, obviously you can see it here, but you can also go down to the description and get it there, and then you can copy and paste it and try it out. You can also just go to TCG, the TCG affiliate link, and buy the deck and try it out that way if you want. But a lot of really, really cool things in this deck. It's definitely a lot of fun. I've got another deck built around Thrummingstone as well that we can try out at some point. But if you guys like combo decks, if you like storming off, if you like doing some cool things like that, and if you like dragons, then hey, this is definitely the deck for you to try out. Again, guys, I'm Debo with Landseco. Thanks again for hanging out with me today and checking out this cool deck tech. Sorry, it's not my normal animated stuff that I normally do. Again, I've just been swamped, and so but I wanted to get this to you because it's a really cool deck. All right, guys, thanks again. Be sure to give us a like, comment, and share and subscribe. It really helps the channel out a lot. And hopefully I'll be seeing you guys again real soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching our content. If you liked our video, you'll probably like these as well. And if you would, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And in the description below, you'll find our TCG affiliate link, where you can buy the cards that you need while also supporting us, Landseco, and our show.